welcome to Metal Exposure. Today we have Kenny from Ancients here with us, which we're really happy that you were able to find time for us on this call today, and look forward to speaking to you about the album, which I have been thoroughly enjoying for the last few weeks now.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
When you when you were sort of getting on with this comeback album, it must have been quite a challenge to try and filter out so much of influence and things that had been going on in your lives and the musical influences that you'd been experiencing and so on. How did you manage to narrow that down and capture that in a sound that was so compelling and so cohesive that it really works as a whole piece and as individual songs?
Well, generally speaking, like when writing, I'm just kind of writing for the fun of it and sort of on my own sort of personal benefit and
Okay.
release, right? So there's usually no sort of preemptive thoughts about, you know, what I want to do or what I'm aiming to do. It's more so just, you know, an escape from real life, and
Yeah.
you know, I can just kind of go into my music studio and sort of escape everything. So it's just basically, doing something that I've always done for the last 30 years kind of
Yeah.
thing, and just, writing music, right?
Yeah, incredible. And I think you must listen to quite a variety of music though, because the album as it is, it goes everything from death metal right the way through to 70s prog music and everything in between as well. And but what I really like is that none of it feels out of place. It all fits so nicely together, and it all just forms this journey. Every song is a journey. Every song is something new, and yet that that variation in musical genres is it must be very hard to capture and create a single piece of music from it.
Yeah, like you were saying, like I think all of us have a very broad spectrum of music
Yeah.
that we like, from classical and jazz to blues to bluegrass
Mm.
to, death metal, rock, like everything, as long as it's good quality music, I'll listen to and enjoy. And yeah, like that part of it, like we try and mix in as much of those kind of influences as we possibly can,
Mm.
while making it still cohesive. And I think that's maybe one of the more challenging parts is focusing on the transitions, right?
Mm.
Because they could be quite jarring, I guess, if you don't finesse from one thing to the other, or make sure you're leading into a new sound a proper way.
Mm.
So I think that's like a lot of the times parts that I will maybe scratch my head on for a while, and sometimes you just toss things away, and then other times you have something good going, and it takes some time just to
Yeah.
finally find the right way to transition into the next section, right? So yeah, it's sometimes it comes easily, and other times it's painstaking, but in the end, if it's worth keeping, we'll usually try and find a way to make it happen.
Now, how do you translate some of that into your live performances? Are there certain songs that you're always quite nervous about trying live?
um Not necessarily. Like, it's just sort of a matter of practice, like,
Mm.
and basically, like, songs that are maybe tougher to nail down just take a lot more time. You can maybe be nervous about it when you're writing it, but I think, like, with anything, it's just a matter of repetition, right? And making
Yeah.
it kind of feel like it's second nature when you're doing it live.
Are there any songs therefore that you are particularly excited about performing live?
Yeah, like we just kind of did a couple shows this last weekend that were like all new material.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so it was kind of the first the icebreakers, and they went really well. But we were all having quite a bit of fun with Celestial Tyrant,
hmm,
because that one, it's even when we were recording it in the studio, it's a bit of a, I don't know how I'd say it, but like gymnastics. Yeah, and it's rewarding to be able to play through perfectly.
yeah.
Not that it happens every time, but we try and get as close as possible, and so that's a really fun one to play off the new record.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic, and of course you've shared the live stages with a real variety of bands as well. I mean, I think you've even played with what Goat Whore, is it?
Yeah, yeah, we toured with Goat Horror, I think in 2017 or
Yeah, yeah,
2018
okay,
on the last album cycle. Yeah, they're
yeah,
really good dudes, and they're certainly a lot heavier in all aspects than we are, but
correct, yeah,
yeah, people seem to enjoy us on the tour, so
yeah. Do
we
you
kind of
change your sound at all for those type of performances?
um sometimes we'll pick a heavier set list from our catalog, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Generally speaking, so we don't get booed off stage with pitchforks. And yeah. But yeah, like you know, we kind of do what we do, so we hope people enjoy it, and most of the time they do.
yeah. No, no,
Yeah,
I think you know pretty quickly if they don't, and I
yeah,
think, but because you have the skills that you have, and you have the variety of sound that you have, I think it does allow you to be, be on a stage with extreme metal bands as well as other progressive bands as well, and fit quite nicely in with that. And it's, as you say, more about finding a fit for the particular audience, for the particular day, for the particular set that's going to appeal to the whole audience and introduce them to something new as well. Um, when
yes,
you were writing this new album, and of course it was a comeback due to various reasons, and I think you've had a bit of a lineup change as well since last time.
yeah.
Was there any main influences that you felt, okay, this is a type of sound that I really want to try and capture? I want to try and integrate some of this, and I want to try and integrate some of what the other bands have done over here, and bring it in with your own sound, and also the experience of the new members to the band as well.
Yeah, well, Brock, our other guitar player,
Mm,
he joined us not long after Voice of the Void was out, so he had actually been with us for quite a while. But with kind of all the personal stuff going on, like we weren't
yeah,
necessarily working so much on new music or making the band go forward and
yeah,
being busy, but he contributed a lot to this new record. And yeah, like we had played in bands before that were like
mhm.
kind of like a southern rock country band, and we'd done like
Okay,
I first met him doing like a couple cover bands with just like a bunch of friends from Vancouver, like a Pentagram cover band and Rocky Erickson cover band and
hey,
Thin Lizzy. Yeah, so
yeah,
a wide variety, and yeah, so I generally wanted this record to just have maybe more dynamic than the last
mm,
record. Like the Voice of the Void was, kind of ass kicking
yeah,
and
yeah,
crushing for the most part all the way through. So that was kind of the one thing I was hoping to achieve with this one, was just have more peaks and valleys and
mm,
add more dynamic and spaciness to the music. But like I said before, there as far as like the actual sound I was trying to achieve, it didn't really kind of come out until I just started writing and we started sharing ideas. And it was a different writing process for us this time because I actually moved like 4 hours out of Vancouver,
Ah,
away from the guys. So we all kind of got set up for remote writing. So
mhm.
a lot of the foundations of the songs were created from different places, and we
Oh,
would
wow.
kind of just we would send projects sort of back and forth to build the foundations of the songs. And you know, I found it almost a lot easier in a way as far as laying the groundwork for these songs, because sometimes like for decades we would with this band and other bands, like, you have a rehearsal time like 2 or 3 times a week that you travel an hour or two to
Mm.
get there. And then you have like that 2 or 3 hours to kind of make some magic happen. And, with busy life and working and all that, it's sometimes it's just hard to achieve things. So, like working remotely, it allowed us to kind of all work at our own pace. So, like,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
if I had free time at 2 a.m., I could go work on a project and work on something and send it over to the guys, and vice versa, right? So it really helped as far as, you know, your schedule of life and being an adult and your responsibilities. You could really put the time in when you had the time, as opposed to kind of crowbarring that into your life, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a big change in this record. And obviously I don't discredit like creating music in the same room with other people,
Mm.
because there's a magic within that doesn't necessarily happen when you're sitting alone by yourself too. But as far as laying the foundations and having a big bunch of stuff to work on when we do get together, it kind of gets the juices flowing, and then other things, happen, right?
Yeah. No, that's right. And
Yeah.
I mean, on that point, so there's a big element of guitar sort of interplay between you and Brock, which you mentioned Thin Lizzy. There's a definitely
Yeah.
elements of that in there. Um,
Mhm.
but how do you two approach that collaboration in the studio? Then does one of you take the lead, or is it more of a back and forth process?
It's just a back and forth. Like for the most part in this band, like I had done most of like the solos and lead guitar work as far as that's concerned.
Mhm.
But now, like Chris, our previous guitarist, he's a really strong rhythm player. He might not necessarily have like the lead skills, but Brock certainly does, right? So
Mhm.
um he plays the solo on the song Despoiled on this record, and I'm hoping as we move along he will, do more of that, right? So it's just, you know, it's pretty much just equal parts, right? We're kind of just trading ideas back and forth,
Yeah.
and whatever kind of works the best for the situation we'll stick to.
Oh, you found a very good dynamic there. Then that's
Hmm.
quite rare that that happens. So that's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one to build on. And I think as well, though, having, with you both having been through that, this creative process together and the evolution of the band as well, in some ways it will feel a little bit of a new band, I guess, a sort of fresh start in many ways rather than just in a re-release, I guess.
It does, like, and like I was saying, like with Chris before, like he's like straight 90s death metal guy, so he loves that stuff, and obviously he loves other music, but Brock, as far as his writing is concerned and his playing, like he I would just say maybe he has more versatility
Okay.
in the ideas that we could trade with each other,
Mm.
right? So, and I think it really has shown on this record with just how the sound came out.
Yeah.
And as far as, with the dynamics, like I was saying before, like it seems a lot easier now to slow things down or quiet things down, and I just feel sometimes having those low points makes the heavier parts even heavier in some regards, right? Like
Yeah,
when
for
you
sure.
actually get to them, they really have more of an impact as opposed to sort of just like a flat
Yeah.
line, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, do you then consciously set out to sort of explore these different time signatures and rhythmic variations, or do they sort of emerge naturally as part of the writing process?
Sometimes it's a bit of both. Like when you're just trying to, you know, challenge yourself, I think that's sort
Mm.
of when odd time signatures and stuff will come out. You're just trying to come up with something crazy and then hone it down into something that, you can make sense of, right? So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I'm never really kind of saying, okay, I need to write something in 15/16 time or
Mhm.
something crazy, right? It's more so just you're feeling a riff and you kind of figure out what's going on after the fact to kind of make it sink in more so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that then leads me on to the lyrics. You because again, that you've got a mix of sort of personal and I suppose existential themes throughout the
Yeah,
album. And
yeah.
how do you approach the lyric writing then in relation to the music? Do the lyrics come first, or do they evolve as part of the process as well?
It's for me, well, I guess I should start by saying like this is the first record that I did all of the lyrics. Like Chris,
Hmm.
he wrote a lot of the lyrics on the first two albums. So when he left, that was kind of something that was looming over my head for a while, like a daunting task. But generally speaking, anything that I've written, it's kind of lyrics will always come second, or kind of the vocal melodies. I'm just sort of I'm a music guy, so I
Yeah.
I kind
Okay.
of I like to have the music first, and then afterthought try and find melodies that will fit over top and subjects, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good work. Very impressive, especially as it's your
Thank
first
you.
try. I mean,
Yeah.
it certainly doesn't come
It's
across as as something that you're doing for the first time there. Everything seemed to fit so nicely, and that's why I'm asking. Because it certainly comes across that it's all been designed. Put together as one piece. The lyrics, the music, everything is there by design, and yet it doesn't feel forced either. So that's why I was a little bit okay. So where's it come from? Has it been, has it been designed, or has it evolved, or it's so
yeah,
nice
like
that you've managed to
I
capture both ends of that and left people going, I'm not sure. Where did that come from? It's brilliant.
yeah, like that's not to say I hadn't contributed in the past, like lyrically and stuff, but as far as the bulk of it, it was kind of a nice thing. Like I usually the music was sort of the bulk of my heap, and I'd be,
Mhm.
you know, happy to hand something over, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it was, a learning curve, and something that, you know, didn't really come super easy. Like when we were recording, we'd do like 10-hour days in the studio, and then I didn't have necessarily all of the lyrics, and like I had melodic ideas as far as what
Mhm.
I wanted the melodies to sound like. But so yeah, it was after after 10 hours in the studio, then I'd kind of go home and, you know, just obsessively try and make things happen for the next day so I could, lay them down.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it was painstaking but rewarding at the same time.
For sure, for sure, and it's comes across in the final piece for you know yeah in a really really great way. I explained to you before I was a big fan of the album, and I certainly count myself as one of your fans. And in general, you have how you have a very loyal and passionate fan base, like myself, that have followed your journey. And just how do you stay connected with your fans, especially during challenging times and things like the pandemic and lineup changes and stuff like that? How have you managed to maintain that following and connect with your fans in a way that kept them loyal?
Um, that's kind of like a hard question. Like we've always over sort of the last 8 years, like you say, there's been a lot of sort of issues that halted our progress.
Mm.
But we've always tried to remain accessible to our fans. Like if they were contacting us, and we appreciate that they've stuck around so long,
Yeah,
because we weren't really sure what to expect with this new release, because it had been like so long. It's like longer than our career existed before the break,
yeah,
if that makes sense, right? So, um, yeah, I just, we're very grateful that people stuck around, and from what we've been hearing back, like they seem to be enjoying the new record, and we're kind of happy to, fire up the engine again, and
mm.
become active.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
if we look towards the future, what are the next steps?
Well, we've already started tossing some, ideas around for new music, just to kind of get ahead of the game. Um, we are doing sort of a small 20 15 date tour coming up next month. That's kind of
That's the
throughout.
North America one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like a Canadian
Okay.
tour, and then yeah, we're hoping to do full North America, probably shooting for the spring of next year, and then Europe for next summer, if
Do you
all
have
goes to
anything
plan.
booked in Europe yet?
We have some ideas kicking right now. I can't really uh,
Say
disclose,
everything. No, of course.
but yes, we definitely plan to come overseas again for this
Yeah.
record.
Well,
Yeah.
for the purpose of the fans here, which are predominantly in the Netherlands and Germany and the UK, do you expect to have some dates in these countries when you'll be coming over to Europe?
Yes.
Yes, very good. That's all
100%.
we needed
Yeah. Yes.
to.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And just as a final question, do you have any plans for further experimentation with your sound, or any particular direction that you're excited to explore?
Um, we just kind of go where the wind takes us. That's kind of the thing, right? It's just, what's kind of what we're feeling at the time, or what's, happening in our lives, typically comes out in the
Mm.
art that we make, right? So, who knows? Could be a full pop record next time.
Well, it may even
Yeah.
still be worth listening to. Who knows?
Oh, let's hope so.
Yeah. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much, and look
Thank you
forward
very
to
much for
seeing
having
you
me.
over in Europe.
You bet. Thanks for having me.